Greetings everyone! I hope you are all having a terrible day, because if that's the case, then it is about to turn a lot better. I'm going to show you the games that I played against Fulgrim 14 in the semi-finals of the Horus Legion 2020 World World Cup. This is Team Australia against Team France. There is so much to tell about this match, but I will do that right after the games. So if you're only interested for the games, they will start very shortly, and if you're not only interested in the games, then make sure still tuned until the end of this video, because there's just so much to say about this match that was going on around this match. So, very technically speaking, we're gonna focus on Horus, on HHL gameplay at the start. Very quick look at the three lists that I used. Make sure you pause the video. Okay, this is Santar. And this is Ahriman. No, this is Vulkan, sorry. And I should already show my Ahriman list, but I didn't get to use it. So, without further ado, let's jump into the first game. So, my opponent here is playing Saul Tarvitz, Horus Lupercal, and Lion. And my thought process was that he would open with Lion, because Lion is great against all three of my warlords, especially the newly nerfed Ahriman. And then Horus is still a very good warlord who can nail any game, so I was thinking he would very likely play these two. So I was like, okay, I really need to take Horus down because I can't stop Lion from winning the game against my warlords, so I will focus mostly on Horus. But it surprised me, he opened with Saul Tarvitz. And Saul Tarvitz is definitely a very good warlord. He's extremely fearsome because if he has good opening hands, he can be unbeatable almost. But if his opening hand sucks, then sometimes it falls down a bit. So here he has double Ecclesia Vitalis. This is not the best turn one for Saul Tarvitz. This means he will... everything will arrive one turn later. And the whole point of Saul is he wants to make things arrive one turn earlier. So, not the best start for him. On the other hand, he will have many possibilities, and it is very unlikely from this point that he has any dead turn or even any bad turn. So here he had a 3-3. Not the best of course. Vulkan would have been slightly scarier, although I could have answered it with my Melgator. I am definitely more happy to play my last rifle section than a Melgator in this spot, especially since, hey, you see that? I see that. So here I'm still not gonna play the Melgator Ambassador because this Duke, I can't get rid of it. I have exactly 7 points of damage into the board, and maybe next turn is Rhino, so if I play Melgator here, I can't really play anything else, then I don't have any kind of board pressure. And he plays Rhino, I'm almost screwed already. And this 3-3 perfectly answers the 7-5, so here I'm in a very good spot. Either he plays Rhino and I have Melgator, either he plays Ahriman, and I have this free trade onto the board. So this feels very good, and I can also follow up with my Vulkan squad. So, excellent start for me. This is definitely a very, very good start. I try not to be too cocky and still save some of my HPs. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should just go base, but this is not the matchup I've trained the most. Because as for me, the way I thought you will lose Tarvitz in tournament is that you pick two very strong warlords, and if they have bad matchups against against the warlords of your opponent, then you simply pick Tarvitz and go for big 50-50s. Because Tarvitz, it's against, except maybe against Calm, I think, he doesn't really have any very bad matchups. So, he surprised me here, and I didn't practice that much against Tarvitz. All my lists were built mainly to beat Horus. So here he gets a Mark of Corn, and this is very good for me, because this dies. If he had gotten anything else, it would have sucked, but actually not that much because it would have taken 2. So it was actually only a Mark of Slanish, and I could even have used my Melgator to get rid of it. So here I play my Fire Drakes, and I'm feeling good here. Still have my Melgator, that will be 1 ping, maybe for National Bones for example. I'll have my Fire Drakes, and now the trouble begins, because this card is horrendous against Vulkan. It's really painful. Like, tell me exactly how do I safely get rid of it. I can't. I just can't. I have to take at least a 50-50 of losing my Fire Drake station. Now that I've come to think about it, I'm not happy about the way I used that. The way I played my turn. The way I should have played it, I think, is playing Last Rifle section, Phase Bash, and Ashen Bones, and then one orbital combat. I use all of my energy, I prevent him from removing that, or maybe he can use his entire turn playing Perfection Flight, but that's fine. I can follow up with the Hydra, and I'm still in a very decent spot. And I get to deal 6 points of damage to it. And I have, it's only a 1 in 3 that these dice. So here comes my first mistake. I started orbital combat. That's not a mistake because that's part of the plan. And there I sacrifice my Megator, and I decide to, and I'm like, okay, well, if the worst happens, and I need to, and my Fire Drake is killed by the backlash, at the very least, I'll save my Ashen Bones for another big thing. But that's an error. Firstly, because now it's only a 1 in 2 of these dice. Secondly, I can't deal 7 points of damage. And lastly, I don't have any pigs in my hand left. So it's gonna be very hard for me to actually proc Ashen Bones. Plus, what am I going to proc it onto? Eidolon stuns my Warlord, so I can't attack into it. Santar and Terminators, they have shield, I can't use it. Ryanor, it also has a shield, so I can't use it. So I should have recognized that this was probably the last time for me to use a very good Ashen Bones, and I should have gone for it, and go for the 1 in 3 instead of the 1 in 2. So here, that's a tragic blunder. Luckily for me, I get lucky. Hey. So, I still have a 7-3, 7-5 maybe Fire Drake that can't really get easily answered. And here he's forced to use his Megator into nothing just to proc the perfection on his Terminators. And now comes the second blunder. Okay, you'll see exactly what happened in a second. I play the Hydra, and this is good. Playing the Hydra is good here. I have considered many other options, like with supply lines, and then maybe the Dreadnought, because it's the only thing I can draw, and going all of that alongside a Nebula, for example, or even double attacking and playing Ashen Bones, but that's really bad. Playing the Epistolary, maybe. I wasn't entirely sure, so I decided to go for that. Now his tactics cost 5 more. And yeah, I feel pretty safe. So here, that's a mistake. Because now, just imagine, if he has Perfection Fight, he can get rid of this, and then get rid of this, and then all of a sudden I don't have a board, and he still has a 6-8 Terminator. So what I should have done is, instead of swinging face with my Warlord, I should just swing into the Terminators. I'm very healthy still, I'm still at 30. So I can take 6. It's fine, it's perfectly fine. So this way, if he actually goes for that Perfection Fight here, then he loses Terminators, or it's 1 health, and I can finish it and play another Hydra. His tactics cost 5 more, so if he uses one to get rid of my board, then I'm in a very good spot. Can't play perfect Emperor's by 2. So that was a big blunder, but I was like, okay, but if he doesn't have it, I can still swing face a lot and win this way. So this should be Gucci for me. And very luckily for me, he didn't have anything to answer that. I mean, the 3-3 would have done it, the jetbikes, second jetbikes would have done it, but he didn't have any of those. So here, I'm not getting punished. Goes for that, of course. And so now, as you see, I'm 1-off. Yeah, if I had any kind of burst in my hand, then sure, this would have been the better idea. But I didn't have any. I was pretty sure I could go into my second last rifle, or one of my 2 Storm Eagles, because I actually ran 2 of them. But I didn't get to any of those. So yeah, overall that really sucked. Here he has this frontline too. I wasn't sure if he played Lupercal, but it perfectly makes sense. It's a great card to play. And now I need this top deck, because I'm in the lethal range. So now I get to play my Ashen Bones, but this is so less sexy than just playing it on the Courier's Death. And the 7 points of damage I did with my Fire Drakes, I wasn't sure to be able to use them with my line of play, so I should have known it. So now, just to be clear, for example, if he has Pride of the Emperor and say this if this is Jetbike, for example, or if this is Longinus, that's enough for him to kill me. Luckily for me, he only had one threatening card in his hand out of 14. He had 12 in his deck left, so 3 cards in his hand, 15 in his deck, so 1/5 of his cards are in his hand, and yeah, there are like maybe he needed a combination of 2 in at least, I would say, 5 or 6 cards to kill me, so it was pretty likely that he had it already in his hand. So I'm being very lucky this first match. This should have gone his way. I played this very poorly, to be fair. So congrats to him. I really lucked my way out this time. Okay, so next was Santar. You see the Kizul in here. It's because it's a bit boring for Horus to get rid of it. If he plays a quick fire, it uses one point of energy early on. He can play a Meta squad or Grogu squad. He's forced to draw. That's a lot slower. So I was fine with having this card in deck. It can also bullshit a game against the Lion. So yeah, definitely, Kizulin is definitely not an auto include in most matchups. But I really think that against his lineup it was. Okay, so now that I want to get with Vulkan, I was starting to feel more confident because perfect topic for me. Well, because I can actually win with Santar. If he wins with his Soul Tarvitz, fine. I can't help against it. I'm not going to play Ahriman. I am not going to. I hate it. And if he plays anything else than Soul Tarvitz, it's a 0% matchup. So I was thinking maybe he will anticipate an Ahriman swap and he'll go for that for Horus or Lion. He didn't. Very good decision for him because this is a very favorable matchup for Tarvitz. And since I didn't practice it at all, I actually didn't realize it was such a good matchup for him. So for now, I've had my Malgatron Ambassador, I've had one of my Drilling Sites, and I've played 3 Legendaries, so definitely one of the strongest opening I could have asked for. I have very good turn because it was definitely a great steal from Jubak. This is also an answer, but that's a 50-50 I don't want to risk. I pick Holat Orgos here, Bluff of the Balguard is bad and the other Sons of Horus tactics, it's useless, so yeah, I go for that. And now that's a play was about to say proud of, but I mean I'm happy with, because I like taking the 4 here lets me fight for the wall. All my sources of damage deal 3, so putting this at 3 feels really good. Okay, so I go for my command bridge. I'm really hoping for a Drilling Site, but for some reason I picked from Cruiser nonetheless. Oh yeah, and that's because I already have a good cleanup with my 3-3 and my Malgatron Ambassador to get rid of the last 3-3. And, well, I have nothing to play on the next turn, so I really wanted to have something to play next turn. So I go for the Cruiser, and I'm hoping maybe that will be enough to actually get rid of whatever he do. Okay, this is a Coriel's Death. Yeah, so the idea is that if he plays one big scary thing, I can go for Win of the Week. If he plays 2 scary things, I can go for Firm Cruiser and most likely get rid of these 2. I don't know, like Agnomen plus something. I can kill the Agnomen with this and then deal 6 to the other thing. It should be doable. Okay, so here I absolutely don't want to take 8 points of damage from the death, so I'm just playing Win of the Week. It sucks a bit that I get to kill my 4-2 because the 4-4 is always a nice thing to have against the Tarvitz. And I don't have anything really better to play the turn after. So that kinda sucks. That's very lame. Okay, now I'm like, well, just gonna do the same. If he plays one big scary thing, then I will go for my Agish Astra. And if he doesn't, well, I just play my Firm Cruiser. And maybe my World Ability will be enough. Okay? But here he plays these 2, and he plays them very smartly. The positioning from him is correct. It's always, Firm is the only kind you need to be aware of, and he was aware of it. Here I like another 50-50, and that's starting to be a lot of luck involved. Also, he hasn't played any Tactical Brilliance this game, you'll notice. So on one hand, I'm feeling really good, really lucky. On the other hand, that's kind of what you get for playing Soul Tarvitz. Sometimes the deck just blows up in your hands. Okay, so here, as you can see, I am in pain. I can't prevent the lethal if I swing here and play HHL, but I get my hammer. You might think Balguard is another trap deck, but these two Nebula are very much dead cards. So I had 2 dead cards in my hand. I've had them for a couple of turns, so that was very unlucky. Hammer is the card I will definitely keep in the mulligan against Soul Tarvitz. So now that I went halfway through my deck, it's only fair that I actually get to get it. Okay, so now I see why Fulgrim is still such a great player, and you should notice it too. I mean, if you really played very close attention to what he did and not what I said, in which case I'm pissed, don't let me know. But let me just explain this very quickly. So you see that right after I play my hammer here, he goes Lectitio and Lectitio, and trust me, he had I think both in his hand before I played my hammer. That means he held on to those just to have me, just so that I have a worse hammer. In the first game against Vulkan, he did not hesitate to play them both in person because he knows that it's not that big of a deal giving cards to Vulkan. It's bad, but it's not that big of a deal. Against Santar, it is a very big deal. So he held on to those until after the hammer, as to not take too much damage. And now that I've played it, now he goes for that, and see, he still has a very small hand size. This means he uses all of his energy very actively to simply put as much pressure as he can to kill me. Okay, but now comes the final blow, because I have Hold at all cost, and I can go for Akishta Astra and the Nebula. No, Nebula is not a dead card because it prevents me from dying from the Emperor's Pride. He can still have a couple lethal, I think. Maybe double jetbikes, I haven't seen any. But we'll see what his name looks like. And that's kind of the issue with the Soul Tarvitz. Instead of, for example, a deck with a bit more draw, sometimes you just have hands like that. And that doesn't work. So, this brings a victory for me. So, yeah, this game, I truly went my way. It's a bad matchup for Santar, but I had to play Santar because I absolutely did not want him to win easily against Ahriman with any of his other 2 decks. Just imagine, I pick Ahriman, he goes either for low Horus or Lion, I lose on the spot, and then I'm left to a big freaking 50-50s. Either I play the nerfed Ahriman against the Soul Tarvitz. It's a matchup that I have never practiced, I absolutely don't know how it goes. Pre-nerfed it was 100% for Ahriman, but now I have absolutely no clue. Maybe Ahriman still has a very decent shot, I don't know. Because when you used to win with Ahriman against Soul Tarvitz, it wasn't a stomp. It was a stomp because you had that clutch Ashen Blow, that clutch Astral Warfare. That's the only reason why the matchup was so favorable to Ahriman. Now that Ahriman only has Cyclone 1, I have no idea. So, I can't really play Ahriman, so I'm left to play Santar. I hope I can win against Soul Tarvitz. You can always win any game against the Soul Tarvitz. And then go for the 50-50, either I face Horus or Lionel Johnson. But this list was kind of aggressive and actually did good in practice against both Horus and Lion. So what does it do? Well, why is it good against Horus? Because I can fit double Nebula inside of it. Zulan is also good. Dark Squad, it's painful for Horus. C-Star, it's painful for Horus. One supply line to go for Hydra early on, or actually Shastra in the late game, that's also good. Drawback Starsights, because Horus cards are good against Horus. This is also some warboards, so overall I had a pretty decent control of the board early on. And it's also good against Lion and Johnson, because I have a lot of burst, so lots of early presence to deal early damage, and then with the Furum Cruisers, I do have some reach. Vision Carapace is not the best, but it's still good. The Hammer is extremely effective against Lion if I can somehow manage to have a reasonable hand size. I wish I could play Lectitio Divinitas because they are very good against Lion to increase the size of my hand, sorry, and then just play a big hammer. But against Horus, I really couldn't afford to do that, and I don't really like playing Abundant Supplies and Lectitium Divinitatis in the same deck. So I'm kind of thinking Abundant Supplies is a lot better, just because if I enter into Carapace or my unique Silver Arm or anything, actually truly anything, then it's a whole lot better all of a sudden. Okay, well the third game here is just an Alpharius game. I will make a video shortly about this Alpharius deck. I've been having a ton of fun ladder with it. Truly stay tuned, because this is a deck that was struggling a lot in the Solo Exilia meta, but now that they're gone, thank God, thank EG, I can finally play this and I am having a lot of fun, and it is extremely deadly on the ladder too. Okay. It's a slight tweak to the deck I posted quite a while ago in my 1 day 1 vision challenge. So now, yeah, about the standings, about this match. So, Orthanol had lost this game, and Kalyan had won it. So this means it's up to me and to Fulgrim to decide who moves on to the finals. And I was playing in kind of poor conditions on my phone and the very bad internet quality. I was like, for the love of God, it's so hard for me. Plus my schedule was so full. Many thanks to Fulgrim for being so acquaintive and accepting to play on 10 p.m. his time. He's in Australia. I'm in France. There are 8 hours of difference between our time zones, so I wasn't very confident about whether we could make this match happen. But thank God we did. I am sad. I am very disappointed in me for playing this bad in game 1. I feel dirty for still winning it. I feel dirty for what I did to him in the second game. So I truly lucked my way out. That somehow compensates for Orthanol's bad luck, terrible luck. It wasn't awful luck. I mean, I'm not entirely sure whether Midnight and Big PP highlighted it well enough in Midnight's video, but trust me, this really should have gone Orthanol's way in terms of matchups. No big mistake from both players. I haven't watched it closely enough to really say, okay, this was a very small mistake, but truly, this should have gone Orthanol's way. So this somewhat compensates for it, and since it's 2-0, I'm not feeling that bad too in terms of luck. I still had many other shots to take serious. And now a little bit of background. Last year, the semifinals were exactly the same. It was Team Australia against Team France, and France won. I'm not entirely sure how it went. There was a bit of drama between the Aggressive versus Vapid match. Not gonna talk about it. But, yet again, we won against Australia, moving on to the finals. Now, last year, I do believe that Team France lost in the finals. But now, this year, we're up against Canada. We're gonna play our matches before the end of next week. Stay tuned for it. This will be a momentous fight. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you folks so much for watching. I did hope you had a great time watching this video. I had a great time making it. I will have a lot of fun with you soon, because I'm gonna come up with a lot more videos the next weeks. See you guys. Take good care of you all. Thanks.